Great. Okay. So thank you for asking me to speak. I started to give my testimony and then we found out nobody was listening, so I'll do that later. I'm teasing, that was on that. That was one of our buttons that wasn't pushed apparently. Okay, so we're going to talk about the kind of work that we're doing in Africa and around the world. I'm on the National Lightning Safety Council, which is the outgrowth of the Lightning Safety Week. I manage ACLE-NET. And I worked for many years at the University of Illinois. So when I say I'm retired only from clinical care and seeing patients, not from work. I want to thank Larry Williams, Terry Studer. Terry's visiting his first grandchild. Larry's helping with the setting up the things in the sanctuary. Steve Denny for introducing me. Paul Detterman, Julie, and Rachel have all helped. And also, those people have answered questions of what should I be saying? What do folks want to hear about? Lois is another one that's done that. John Mullicam is an author who's writing a book about a novel about lightning injury, and he and I have been working back and forth. And he's a monthly contributor to this. And then, of course, all my colleagues, they've been great. I can't tell you, I would not be where I am today without their support. So the structure of the talk is why lightning? I don't remember if that was yours or Larry's question. Why Africa? Okay, and why this instead of enjoying retirement, which that was yours, yeah, okay. Well, first of all, my father loved lightning. He loved storms of any kind. I mean, it was like the 4th of July. Wow, look at that one. That kind of thing. Secondly, a distant relative was had a high voltage industrial electrical accident. Horrible kind of injury. That was before medical school started and the family kept asking me questions. Of course, I didn't know anything yet. No, come on, I'm not even in medical school. 7 years later as a senior resident, you're required to give a lecture and I decided I'd do it on electrical injuries. And it was a fairly new lecture or something that wasn't commonly done at the time or talked about. And so I got asked to give it several times and somebody held up their hand and said, well, is lightning the same? I don't know. So I went home, and this was long before any emergency medicine textbooks. And I looked in the surgical textbooks. There wasn't a single line. There wasn't anything in the index. Looked in the internal medicine textbooks. There was one sentence in a book that's about 4 inches thick. Okay. And so I gathered all of the case studies and case reports and things like that. And I didn't know anything about lightning. So I coded them for everything I could think of, whether they had a seizure or cardiac arrest or burns ear or all that kind of stuff. And somebody put that was back in the key punch card days, put my little deck in the back of their research deck. And from that, we came up with 4 correlations, which still hold today. So that was the first publication, the first organized study of lightning back in 1980. And then last but not least, a mentor a few years later at one of the meetings, emergency medicine meetings, said find a niche. So I'm the lightning lady. Okay, so I spent the next few years after residency, trying to build a career, growing up, trying to figure out who I was, that kind of stuff. First career, as Steve mentioned, was building emergency medicine, writing the training standards and the accreditation standards, and a bunch of stuff like that. Writing parts of the board exam, helping develop the ATLS course. And the first advanced trauma life support course used Mike Burns slides because we didn't have a slide set yet. Okay, second career was raising a family and third career was lightning. And this is all mishmashed, so it wasn't sequential. Okay. So my roles in life, my daughter used to say I had 3 or 4 jobs. I'm a physician, scientist, teacher, mother, and Christian. John Mullicam, that author, is the one that said, do this, you've got plenty of creds, do this from the Christian standpoint because he knows where I am with this. So at medical school, back during the hippie days, because I'm that old, one of the faculty members said, you can change the world. And I believe him. So I've been tilting at windmills ever since. So, okay, so how many of you have been in a tsunami? No. How many okay. How many of you been in a hurricane? Tornado?
Yeah.
Okay. Flood?
Yeah.
In my basement.
Okay. But how many of you have seen lightning?
Yeah.
Okay. Lightning is the most frequent weather threat to life that people around the world, and I don't care what country you're talking about, except maybe the Arctic and the Antarctic, encounter worldwide. Far more than all those other things you think of as disasters. They often see it on a daily basis, often without knowledge of how to reduce their risk. And that's one of the things we've done in the United States, is done a lot of education. And they often don't have any place safe to go that's lightning safe as well. So why don't more of us die in the United States?
Benjamin Franklin or lightning rod.
That is still the standard, is Benjamin Franklin's lightning rod. Okay. So this is the US lightning deaths. You can see from 1900 through almost the present day. You can see that it's decreased steeply. If you look at those blue dots, that's the rural population. So as people moved in from the farm where they were exposed out on the field and herding their cattle and stuff like that, that changed the rate. You can see that first blip going down here is more probably because of moving to the city into the pre-World War II days. Okay, as it goes down here, think about a farmer now. Their combine is fancier than my car is. It's got air conditioning, it's got CDs, and it provides that metal shell which protects you, just like a car protects you, not because of the tires, but because of the metal shell. So we've had the mechanization of farming, more substantial housing, and lightning safety education from 2001 to present. So by the time you get to this year, we're down to 21 deaths, 17 deaths the last couple of years for a population of over 330 million people. Okay. In 2021, so far, we've only had 10 deaths. The lightning season's not over yet, but it's minuscule. It's about 1 in 20 million, okay? So, or 15 million, something like that. So National Lightning Safety Week started in 2001. It was the first really organized lightning safety education program. We had met a bunch of us in lightning, and I'm talking about the atmospheric physics people, the engineering people, and the meteorologists, the docs and the golfers, and the God knows, everybody. We got together at a meeting in '98 at the American Meteorological Society and decided we better be talking from the same page because we all had media interviews, but we needed to be saying the same things. So National Lightning Safety Week was an outgrowth of that. Maybe some of you have heard when thunder roars go indoors. We have simple mottos that have been put together. They've been field tested with various different groups, and 3-year-olds can remember this, okay? The next is no place outside is safe. No place outside is safe when thunderstorms are in the area. Half an hour since thunder roars, now it's safe to go outdoors. Well, so what's lightning like in the rest of the world? This is satellite data from 2017 to 2020. And you can see if you look at the, there's not a lot of lightning over the oceans, so that's why those are cool colors there. But as it gets to be hotter colors and finally into the black color of death in the middle of the Congo there, this is what the lightning distribution over a 3-year period looks like around the world. This is another map. This is one that Ron Hawley has worked with Vaisala for the last 21 years. He's retired twice, once from the National Severe Storms Lab where he started doing lightning work, and once from Vaisala just about a month ago. He's been my prime colleague for the last 30 years in a lot of this work. Okay, so the colors I want you to look for in here are not the warm colors. When they use their old coloration that they use for the United States, everything turned out red, you know, especially the really high ones. So I told Ron, you have to add some more colors. So what did they do? They went from the blue at the bottom to the blue at the top too, which I don't think is very good, but that's their company, they can do what they want. So what I want you to look for is these 2 or 3 top colors. And you'll see that there might be a little spot there in New Orleans. There's certainly Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela. the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and we're right, Uganda is right close to that. The Straits of Malacca, Indonesia, northern Australia there, Bangladesh, Nepal, Malaysia. But you can see that there's not a lot of lightning up in Europe. So there's not a lot of exposure, okay? There's some in the United States, but as you can see, there's hardly anything in the Western states. So what's it like in Africa? Okay, so honing in on Africa. Again, you can see here's the Democratic Republic of the Congo. We don't go in there because it's unstable. It's got Ebola, it's got COVID, it's got civil war, 30 years. So we get very few reports, even though it's one of the largest countries. We get very few news reports because the press is not stable. Okay, and Uganda's right next to it. This is East Africa. So let me show you what that looks like for lightning. Okay, so Uganda's where we operate. Kenya, Tanzania down here, Rwanda and Burundi are the 5 countries that are East Africa. And right here, this pink and red area is Lake Victoria. Lake Victoria is the 2nd largest lake in the world, next only to Lake Superior. Huge bodies of water like that make their own lightning, make their own weather patterns. So there's a lot of lightning over Lake Victoria. So when thunder roars, go indoors, right? Okay. Well, why does that work for us? It works for us because in developed countries, we have homes, schools, churches that all have metal in the walls, whether it's plumbing, wiring, metal studs, that kind of stuff. Lightning, even if it hits the building and goes through the electronics and destroys the electronics with, I think it did once to our slide projector in the main part of the church, it still goes around the outside and the people inside are safe. Okay. Metal vehicles, the same thing. Electricity is electrons, right? They're negatively charged. And if you remember when you put magnets next to each other, if you put the same, it'll push it away. Well, electrons all want to get away from each other too. So they stay on the outside of the metal, whatever it is, whether it's the wire in your cord, whether it's the metal in your car. So you're safe inside the car because the electricity is on the outside. But, so that's a substantial building with the all metal vehicles. Well, when you go to Africa or developed countries, 90% of sub-Saharan dwellings are not lightning safe. They're made out of mud brick with thatch roofs or metal roofs held down with a rock. If you look real close, you can see the rocks holding that one down. Sometimes they'll put a rubber tire on the top of the metal because they think that prevents lightning, or some cultures do anyway. Okay, so families, farmers, and workers and students are at risk 24/7, 365, whether they're walking to school, whether they're sitting in their classroom, whether they're walking to market, tending their herds, cooking dinner, or sleeping. They're at risk. Even if they move to the city, these are not lightning safe shelters, you know. Over 1 million people live in Soweto, South Africa. Pardon me, I'm getting dry. Okay, so risk factors, I'm not going to discuss each one of this because that'd take another hour. Risk factors in developing countries, they have much higher lightning, right? I showed you those maps. So they have high flash density per square mile. They have a large rural population that's exposed. Everybody's exposed because of unsafe housing, even the churches, the schools, the workplaces. Churches meet outside. There's no safety education. There's a high illiteracy rate, and there's little knowledge of science. There's little access to quick, high quality medical care for those who are injured. And we really, really get into belief in supernatural causes. If you think the God of thunder and lightning is going to get you, then what behavior can you do that's going to change that? No. So it's I won't say God's will, it's the God's wills, okay? And we see this over and over again. You'll see some more of that in one of the videos I'm going to show you. So you say, well, geez, Miriam, why are you doing this? This is all over the world. Well, we're just climbing that mountain one step at a time. And as Steve said, we've already had, I didn't know this until until Wednesday, on the second birthday of Solomon, that they found that they founded the idea on what we had started. And I'm not the one that founded ACLE. Richard did, the guy that was with us in the 1st of May in church with us. And he recruited me to be the chair, so I can't even claim founding ACLE net. Okay, this is the only time you're gonna see this. We got saddled with this huge, long, horrible name by the guy who decided that that's what it should be named. It wasn't Richard. So, I mean, by the time I say this, people's eyes start glazing over at about the end. So I want to change that, but it takes a lot of paperwork. So how did we start and what do we do? Okay. ACLE net started because there was a lightning strike to one single school, Ranyanya School in Uganda. And 18 kids were killed, 38 were injured. You don't see those numbers in the United States, okay? Richard had kids this age. I met him in Nepal, and he went back to Africa and vowed that he would do something about this and formed ACLE net. Well, when he recruited me, we started looking at, back in 2013, 2014, when we founded the organization, when he founded it, and I took over as director. So we did just a rough screening of the news articles that we could find up through 2014. And look at this, school, okay? School children are the most frequent victims of lightning in Uganda. Just this year at the AMS, or 2020, at the AMS meeting, Ron Holly, my partner, did a study of all of the news reports he gathered from Uganda. And again, schools came out to be the #1, okay? They're not properly protected from lightning. I'll show you some of the pictures. They're not a big building like we've got for over at Roosevelt or Lincoln or, you know, those schools. They're made up of individual small buildings, anywhere from 3 to 20 or more buildings. I'll show you some pictures of that later. Okay. So that makes them more expensive to protect, for one thing, because you don't just have one simple block. Okay. They also have 50 kids to a classroom. So this is the motto that we, or the logo that we came up with the school program. We decided we don't have a lot of money, but if we're going to use our money effectively and our people effectively, let's protect where we see the most victims. So we started protecting schools. This is the school that we're working on right now. It's Bangoyo Primary School in Yombe District. In October 2018, there were 3 kids killed and 73 injured. We try to pick schools. This is one of their classroom buildings. It's got 2 classrooms. This is an adult ed kind of course of youth leaders from churches, because churches meet in schools too. Some of the kids. And this is one of the teachers' homes. Now, how do you put a lightning rod on this? That's just going to catch on fire. So we've had some very special challenges for lightning protection. How we're going to do it. Okay, let's see. We're going to stop this and start the first video. So let me show you. Oh, it looks like it might have. No.
If you go back to that Zoom meeting tab.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. And then if you click.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Okay. News coverage on it.
Sister Peace Mary, a 10-year-old primary 6 pupil of Rockview Primary School, is one of the many children who have survived the lightning at the school. Though it is now close to 3 years since the last incident, Sister still recalls what happened on the fateful day.
As we were in the class while the head teacher was teaching, something like a red cock came into the class, and the whole room turned to red. And immediately we started praying. Then fortunately God saved us.
On the fateful day, Sister lost one of her best friends to lightning.
Some children were affected on the chest.
The head teacher, principal.
Personally, I had headache for 3 solid months. until I think PLOE came. But that tells you what it is, what it has been, how difficult it has been.
With over 3 children that have so far lost their lives at the school, the situation has attracted the attention of humanitarian agencies like AccelNet, which has installed lightning arresters on all the school buildings. The intervention, according to AccelNet officials, is in response to the bad experience and desire to save lives,
resulting in fatalities, injuries, or both. So each school we have protected has a history of a lightning strike killing children and injuring some.
We also wanted to have the schools distributed around Uganda so that they could serve as education centers for their regions, so that they could serve as training centers for engineers in their regions on lightning protection systems.
Bena Akesh, the school head teacher, says numerous lightning strikes have affected school enrollment. The number have dropped from over 2,000 learners to now 1,500.
This will help us to bring back the population of Rockview School. Because I came here, I got a population of 2,000. Now the population has kept on dwindling, one because of those myths that people have about lightning.
The head teacher is appealing to the Minister of Education to install lightning arresters in all schools to save learners.
I call upon the President, and especially that Mama Janet Museveni is the Minister of Education and Sports, to look into schools. All schools in Uganda should be protected against lightning because we are losing many lives. This is just one school.
Lightning is a natural phenomenon caused by severe weather that comes with rain.
I am so excited about the installation of the lightning arresters. Even if it is raining, we shall have no fear. So, great thanks to the donors.
The children have been affected, the teachers have been affected, even the property within the school. So it has been so alarming, and children have been learning out of fear. Some of them feel like running out of school whenever they see clouds changing. So that kind of, because of the stigma.
David Osheng, NBS Your Story.
Okay, so it turns out that the head teacher had been hit by lightning when she was a 3rd or 4th grader. She had to repeat a year because of the brain injury. She still has chronic pain in one of her arms and legs as a result of the lightning, so she really understands what's going on. What things did you pick up that were kind of odd on the video?
It's a lightning arresters. Is that the same as a lightning rod?
It's a lightning rod. They call them arresters in Africa and many other places. Because there's also the false advertising that they they don't attract lightning and they don't repel lightning. But they're called arresters because they have this feeling that if you just put the lightning rod on top of the building, that it will stop the injuries. And that's only one of 4 parts of a real lightning protection system. You heard where when dark clouds come, the kids scatter. And we've seen this. Our staff has seen it when they've been going out to survey schools. A dark cloud comes up, kids scatter to home. Are they any safer there? No. But at least 50 of them or 18 of them or 20 of them won't get killed in the schoolroom. So, they're safer even if they're not safe doing that. Well, how much of an education can you get if you're scared during the whole thunderstorm rainy season? Okay, so let's go back to the PowerPoint. See that? Nope, that's the wrong one. Okay, let's go.
Of IEC, so there is no issue with respect to the standard, whatever I show with the Indian standard or IEC, both are the same.
Press pause.
And then some basic test requirements which are required as per.
It was, here, if you just press pause on the video itself.
I'll just get rid of it.
Okay.
I don't need that one. Okay. Sorry about that. We tested out just about everything else. Okay. So as I said, we've got schools all around Uganda now. Mongoyo is the one that I showed you some of the pictures of. That's what we're planning on now. They had those 3 deaths and over 70 injuries. Right now, we're looking at, we've surveyed 3 different schools on the main island, one of the islands in Lake Victoria, because there's so much lightning there. And then I want to get one up here, either in Lyra or over in this corner, so that we've have a broad reach of these. These have been because of donors. Okay, now my PowerPoint's not working. Okay, here we go. Let's try this again. Okay, for the design team, we've got world-class lightning protection experts from all over the world, Europe, South Africa, the USA. The folks in South Africa have real-world experience protecting African areas. These people serve on the international standards committees. They are the best. And they volunteer their time. We've been working together and meeting for an hour, hour and a half every week, designing these schools and working out the budgets and working with donors and things like that. Not only are they addressing lightning protection problems that people haven't had to work on before, but they're taking it back to the international standards, because the international standards are written for Europe. They're written for America. They're written for maybe a quarter of the world, maybe a third of the world. Well, how about writing standards that cover the rest of the world too, that are maybe using local materials, which is what we try to do as much as possible, but local materials that still meet the standard, meet the meaning of the standard. Well, I don't know if I'm going to have to
Try clicking on the PowerPoint thing down at the bottom. To the left. Yeah. See if that, keep clicking about window anything changes.
Okay. Yes, good for you. Okay, when we get out there, there's 3 main parts of a lightning protection system: the lightning arrestor, the lightning rod. So once it catches the lightning, then there's the down conductors that go down the side of the building, down to the ground, and then we put an earthing ring around each one of the buildings, and then we interconnect the earthing rings. Because again, the electrons want to go away from each other, right? So they want to go out from the building if we put a ring around the school. Okay, so actually the guy on the left is our accounts manager in Uganda, and he got muddy the last time we did this, and he figures this is his volunteer time. We get the parents, they come in from the fields with their hose and they dig the trenches for us, so that they have investment in the system. And we give education seminars to the teachers in schools. I'd like to do a whole lot more of this than we are so far. We have focused public education, where, remember those coupon newspaper inserts for grocery stores? Well, they still use them, but they use them for education. Teachers can use this kind of stuff as a poster in their classroom for a lesson plan. They've been very effective against HIV infections, teenage pregnancies, driver safety. So we've done a few of these, but they charge us for us like this is an advertisement. It's not, we don't get public service freebies or anything like that. Okay, we're gonna go back to this other one, and we're gonna, let me show you one of the public service announcements that we've done. This was showed at Christmas this year because that's when families are home before they go.
We have taken lightning safety to be a serious issue.
Lightning flash density is much higher in the tropics than in the rest of the world. Lightning's impact is devastating to our communities in many ways. Safety education and proper lightning protection systems can help build lightning-safe communities.
The Ministry of Disaster Preparedness and Refugees is working with ACLENET on scientific interventions to disasters.
The highest risk is faced by those in labor-intensive outdoor work like farming, and those with little or no access to safe structures. Forget the myths and learn the facts. Be prepared, not scared. Learn the facts today.
Cool, huh? We just received, about 2 or 3 months ago, we received a donation from a Rotary Club up in the Netherlands. That's helped us translate that into the local language, Luganda. And we not only have the TV public service announcement, but we're working on radio, because out in the community, they may not have any electricity. They certainly don't have TVs. They don't have computers. Mongoyo School doesn't even have electricity. But radio, they do have, playing all the time. So we can reach in the tribal languages across Uganda some of these people. So, oh shoot. Okay, I'm sorry for the technical stuff.
It's on the Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah, but I want to go back to where we were.
In the PowerPoint?
Yeah. Okay, hang on a second, let's go back. I don't know why. Okay, let's see if this works. Yes, it will. Okay, many of you already get this. This is a monthly newsletter that we send out. It's been in English for 3.5 years. We got French translator about 6 months ago, a volunteer from France. Portuguese, I just recruited a graduate student who's from Brazil, and she's going to South Africa to do her PhD work. She's doing the Portuguese for us. It's worldwide distribution all over the world. It goes to the lightning safety advocates from the last several international Zoom meetings that we've had. So I can use it as a newsletter to them to announce that SOLNET meeting. It's for information and education at a lot of different levels. Education at the local level for the teachers, education at the international level for this is what's going on in Africa, international education for lightning safety advocates of what we can do together and what's going on. It's also fundraising. ACLA.net is totally supported by grants, donations, and hundreds of hours of wonderful volunteers. And we wrote the book on it, okay? So, and I don't make any money on this. I'm not hawking the book because I've actually posted it for free so that anybody anywhere around the world can get it on ResearchGate, which is LinkedIn for academics. Same thing, okay? We do professional education. We've got some work going with the high school science and math teachers in Africa, in Uganda. We hope once school starts again that they'll have the money to work with us so that we can train the trainers. They can go out and train their teachers in their districts, and then we can train parents and folks like that. The second Black gentleman, you saw the Minister of Disaster Preparedness. He's a great supporter for us. He's also the patron of professional engineers in Uganda. So we're hoping eventually, after we get all the MOUs and the MOAs and all the paperwork we have to go through done in Uganda, we hope to get into the engineers too, okay? We do research as well. We keep the injury reports. That's the database that we've been developing. We're now covering 33 countries of the 55 in Africa. This is the largest publicly available database on lightning injuries anywhere in the world. It's up there, so if a high school student wants to do a project on how many lightning injuries there have been in Nigeria, they can go to the country page on Nigeria and pull all of the news reports and then do their data and say there was, this was the age group that was most affected and it was more men than women or whatever. So news reports often don't cover smaller incidents, so we know it's not a complete database. We know that. But it's the best we can do. We also have citizen reporters. We've got a guy from Rwanda that sends us the native language newspaper article and the link, and then he translates it for us. It's only his fourth language. So I have to do a little bit of grammar editing, but God bless Frank. He's just been wonderful. We've got citizen reporters from many other countries as well. So the other thing we're doing is we go out when funds are available, and I'll tell you, there's scratching for money has not been easy. But when we have the money, when there's a large incident like the Mongoyo one, like the Runyanya was the first school we protected, by the way, the one with the 18 kids that were killed. We still have a lot of really close relationships with them. So we'll send a multidisciplinary team out, including nurses, including Lightning Mary, who was a nurse who got hit at Runyanya 10 years before these 18 kids were hit. And we look at the scene for any damage. We interview the parents, the teachers, the students that were injured. We've done this a couple of times now for Mongoyo School, the one that we're just getting ready to send a team out to install lightning protection on. And there was 10 boys, spectators of a soccer game that were killed last August, 13 months ago. This gives us a lot of information that we can spread internationally then at the international meetings Ron and I go to. And Richard, we're now getting him to go out to these as well. And it changes the rest of the world's, at least the lightning science world's, ideas of what's going on and what they need to address. So, okay. So, my roles. Physician, I work with survivors, families, the lightning strike support group for the last 30 years. As a scientist, one thing you may not know is that 90% of lightning victims survive, but they may have the permanent brain injuries, learning disabilities, may not be able to go back to their original work because their executive function and multitasking and gets all screwed up. Chronic pain syndromes, because lightning is a neurological injury, it's not a burn injury, okay? Well, as a teacher too, so lightning safety education from the Lightning Safety Week, we put ourselves out of business. We only have 10 deaths in the United States. We've trained a whole team. If Ron and I and Billy and John die tomorrow, there's a team that's going to carry it on. We put together ACLE Net because Ron and I went international. We've been doing that for a long time anyway, and now I found out from that SolNet meeting that ACLE Net is a world example. And so even though we don't have a lot of money, SolNet, the guy, the Sri Ram from Nepal, he's the reason that Richard and I met at the meeting back in 2011. We're coming up to 10 years from that meeting in just a few days in October. And he's the one that's running SolNet. He says, and he just got reelected to 2 more years as the president. And I sent him a little email on the side during the conference that was celebrating you. And I said, I don't know whether to congratulate with you or mourn with you. And he says, yeah, because as the leader, I get all the work. I also get all the blame. And we don't have a penny in the bag. I said, yeah, but if you keep talking about it, people will believe. And they do. Okay. So this was the conference we had back in May to prepare for International Lightning Safety Day. International Lightning Safety Day was 10 years to the day of when those kids were killed in Runyanya. That is now known internationally. We're trying to get it to be International Lightning Safety Day with the UN, UNICEF, World Meteorological Organization, World Health Organization. These 3 organizations, ACLE Net for me, ALPR is a major academic engineering and lightning program in Malaysia, and SolNet. Well, I was doing the Zoom with a couple of other people, letting people in and sharing the session and stuff. So I kept the stats. On the second day for the preparation day, we had 249 people registered from 25 countries across 14 time zones. We had speakers from 17 countries because they all came in and they talked about their lightning protection system. That's what we were trying to do, is we were trying to network all these people so that they could learn from each other and get ideas and borrow materials, because we give away all of our materials free, you know. And I'll talk anywhere that wants me to talk about lightning safety. These are some of the guys. Nuwan Kumarsinghe on the far left there from Sri Lanka. Chandima, he's the one that got ACLE Net started and gave us that horrible name too. And Shri is the guy in the center with the red tie. You know Richard already from church. And there's a few people that aren't in here. Zainal from Malaysia, Ron Holly, and Munir who's the one that actually suggested that SolNet form as a network like we started out to be. They've succeeded in where we haven't. Okay, so my other roles. So where is God in ACLE-net? I started to say when we found out we didn't have any sound, that I have had so many blessings in life. I've had wonderful parents, great education, a great mind that God has gifted me with. And all of the things all the way along my career, the failures, the successes, the people that I've met. When this started, and this started because Richard was so distressed after he found out how many people had been killed in Uganda. And he said, I can go back home, but I can't do anything because people will just say I wanted international travel. And so I sat with him on the bus going to the banquet that night. And we started talking, and I started telling him all the things the Americans were doing. Well, that doesn't work in Africa, but I didn't know at the time, you know. But I said, you can do this, we can help you. He went back to Uganda, and God bless him, within 18 months, he had one of these conferences in Uganda. And within a year, he founded ACLE-net. And then he recruited me to be the director. He says, we need a white face for things. That's one of the nice things about Uganda. They have none of this racial tension stuff that we're going through now. Even though they had a colonial masters at one point, they weren't there long enough to change the mindset. So these guys think of themselves as just as equal as we do. There's none of this. Anyway, I don't want to say anything more about that. So when he asked me to do this, I talked to my husband, I talked to God, and I said, you know, what do I do? This is your idea. This whole thing was your idea. And I still go to God every day saying, I don't know how to do this, you know. I don't know how we're going to do this part of it. I don't know the solution to that. What should I say in this email? What should, you know? So he's been very good to us. He's been very good to me. So ACLE-net is his idea. Okay, so as a mother, let me show you some pictures and some stories. These are some of the news reports. This was in August. This is one of the ones from our citizen reporter, Frank, in Rwanda. A couple was sleeping, and their 2-year-old baby was between them. Both of them were killed. The baby was spared, so now the baby is an orphan. So I'm not going to talk about the physics of why that happened. There's good reasons, but okay. This is another where, talk about those thatched roofs. Thatched roof caught fire. They could not get out. Not only was this family wiped out, but the grandfather who tried to go in and rescue them was burned severely enough that he died on the way to the hospital. So entire families wiped out. You know, there was a report I didn't pull, but 3 brothers and sisters were killed on their way home from school. Imagine, you know, I know what it's like to lose a child. So it's hard. So if you remember the running on this slide, well, what if you were a parent, you heard about it, you went to the school and your child wasn't at the school or hadn't run home yet. So you go to the hospital and you start seeing this, all these kids. Now, what if your child wasn't at the hospital? This is going to be a slide that some of you may want to close your eyes during. Sorry, it makes me cry every time I see it. If you had to go to the morgue and claim your child there. So that's why we're protecting schools. Okay. So how can you help? Your prayers, please pray that my dementia, my familial dementia, holds off long enough that I can get ACLE on a firm financial footing and train up my successors and keep it rolling. And keep the international lightning safety rolling for Bangladesh and India and Colombia and Venezuela and so many of the other countries that we're working with right now. So all of those you can help with. You can help with funding. You can help with just encouraging us. If you've got people in your network that are fundraisers or grant writers, because I sure don't know how to do this well, I haven't scored a single grant other than the ones who came up to me and said, we'll send you some money. If you have connections with funders, funding sources, and don't tell me about Gates because Gates doesn't do this kind of stuff, so. Thank you. Well, I almost ended with 15 minutes since we started 5 minutes late.
Questions?
It looks like Tim Gamble has a question.
Okay.
Yeah, Mary Ann, longtime listener, first time caller. Great job, really, really. Although joy is maybe not the right word, very, very educational. Growing up, I heard that 80% of lightning injuries were from ground current. In other words, the lightning exiting the ground. What is that as lethal as regular lightning? And second question, and I'll take these off air. Global warming data. Is there significant effect of global warming on either an increase or something else?
Just like with all the other climate change models, if you look at any one of the models, none of them can predict the weather. Taking the data from 3 years ago could predict what we were going to have this year. The models are incredibly complex. There's an incredible amount of data. And so many models show that lightning is going to increase, say 10% for every degree of temperature, Celsius, not Fahrenheit, that it goes up. Others say it's going to decrease. We've actually had a lot less lightning this year and last year than normally would have been expected. Let's see. What did you say to do before? There we go. Okay. Let me show you the mechanisms of injury. This is some of the other research we've done. So direct strike, which is what everybody thinks lightning is from, it only causes about 3 to 5% of deaths. This is in developed countries. We don't know the numbers in developing countries. When lightning or thunderstorm is around, it induces an opposite charge in everything underneath it, whether it's a television tower, a lightning rod, a person, a cow, and that charge goes up through. It doesn't have to connect with lightning in order to be a significant amount of energy. Once the lightning hits and then the field collapses around the person, that kills another 10 to 15%, probably more. A paper is going to be presented in another week by a very good friend of mine from Australia, who's a physician and an engineer, a PhD in engineering, that really shows that upward streamer is a much bigger contributor. Contact voltage, where lightning hits plumbing, wiring, a distance from your house and comes in because it is conducted in. Side flash, standing close to a tree. And then, yes, ground current. It's not the lightning coming up from the ground because that's the upward leader, the upward streamer. It's lightning hitting a distance and then spreading out, just like the ripples in a pond do. And so that has been credited, like you said 80%, but we think it's more like 40 to 50%. So I'm glad you asked that question. You can see I put the slides in just for you, Tim. Okay.
Nobody on there, I have one. So
sure.
Just one big tower in the middle of the town, how does that not help? How can that not be good enough?
Very, very good question. We now have a guy going around India putting up a long wooden pole with a bicycle rim on top, okay? And he says that's protecting the entire village, okay? Lightning protection is very complicated. I am not a lightning protection person. I don't ever intend to be, but I've had to learn a whole lot more about it. So when people ask those kinds of questions or government official asks that kind of question, I can answer it. Okay. There's only that pole will only protect a certain amount around it, okay? And that's part of lightning protection, how you calculate that. Secondly, lightning hits that and comes down, spreads out as ground current. So you're really not protected, are you?
The same ring.
Yeah.
And you connected all the rings from each house together. So what if you did a big ring around that?
Well, but the reason you're putting the rings up is for the lightning to hit the lightning rod and then come down the down conductor and to the earthing ring. Earthing rings just by themselves aren't gonna
Well, no,
protect.
but one big tower with one large earthen ring, is it still gonna spread out to the rest of the village or, okay?
Yes, it will. Yeah. So some of these people that were in that picture and I have been trying our best to get this guy, he's put up like 30,000 of these bicycle tire lightning protection things. And then he has all the kids standing around it and takes photographs of them. You know, with no education, if you have to stay away from this. And there's a lot of fraud in lightning protection.
Right.
And it costs us a whole lot more to protect 20 buildings than it does to protect Lincoln School. So, because Lincoln School is simple building to protect, not all of these. But good question, very good question. And people sell that idea all the time. So you could make a fortune on it.
I don't wanna make it work though.
Yeah.
So how do you protect the thatch roof huts, the small huts?
We're using a concept similar to what Mark said, and we're putting up a mast about 2 yards, 2 meters, which is separation distance, which is part of the code, 2 yards in back of the hut. It will be 9 meters tall, and it will, so that the hut will be in, okay. Plus, it's connected through the pole to the down conductor, to the rings around each of the homes that we're
So if
protecting.
you don't have that, do the thatch roof huts get hit regularly?
Oh, yeah, oh,
Don't
yeah.
they have to have some kind of metal or electrical outlets going on in there?
Large parts of Africa don't have any electricity.
Yeah, that's what I
No,
was wondering.
zippo, nada. So, and when they do, when South Africa decided they were going to electrify their whole country, they put up these outlets through pipes in the ground,
Oh,
and you build your hut around that pipe, which
Uh-huh.
has the electric plugs on it.
okay.
So if you move your hut, that's still standing there.
Yeah, wow.
You know, so, good idea, but it doesn't work. Now, these countries, I think you said, why don't one of your questions, why don't the governments go out and do this? I can tell you that I've been told that the Ministry of Education, which is responsible for building schools, has money and requirements to protect schools. But A, they don't know how to. B, the money goes into people's pockets instead of to the projects. And so we're hoping that we can work with the Ministry of Education to really get some. Now, I've also heard that USAID is 40% of Uganda's budget. So if we're paying their budget, they don't have money to do this. You've seen how poor these people are. They don't have money, so.
Well, it is 10 o'clock, so let's give Mary Ann a hand. Thank you. Make your way for worship in 15 minutes. Very good.
Thank you, Steve.
Sure.
I thank you all for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you.